wealth management, tax, accounting, and payroll. Thank you for voting us Yuba Sutter's best in multiple categories, including financial advisor and wealth management firm for the past 5 years. You can find more information at shawassociatesinc.com or 530-674-1150. Shaw & Associates is proud to support community radio.
And good morning to you. The time is 8:15, and Fish, we're honored this morning because we've got, I don't want to say a contest winner, but definitely a department winner. We've got the Employee of the Year for the Sutter County Sheriff's Department.
That's amazing.
Anahi Duran.
Right.
Anahi Duran. Okay. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
So, what is the? How do you rise to the top in your field? What did you do? Just show up to work every day?
Well, that's part of it.
Yeah.
But then every time I come in, I do my best.
Okay.
Oh, come on.
What? Well, first off, what do you do?
I am the evidence technician for the Sutter County Sheriff's Office. So my main function is to manage the evidence from the department that is delivered by deputies. So I'm in charge of storing. I'm in charge of keeping documentation of the process of collection, storing, whenever we transfer it to the lab, anything that has to do with evidence.
Do you actually do any of that evidence kind of analyzing, or do you have a lab there? We always see that in television shows. We're going to send it to the lab.
Yes.
Is there a lab?
We don't have a lab. I do respond to crime scenes, and I am trained to collect evidence at crime scenes.
You're the CSI person.
It's combined, kind of like the evidence technician CSI.
I know the one thing that drove people like you crazy about that CSI show was dark. Am I right?
It's a little bit of that, but also what drives me crazy is the CSI effect. Everybody has those high expectations that everything we can solve with DNA within an hour. And honestly, I wish it was that way. But unfortunately, there's more process involved on that. There's more time and a lot of paperwork.
Well, let's talk about how long you've been doing this. Tell us your story. Tell us about Anahi. Where are you from?
Okay, so I was born and raised in Mexico, but the majority of my life I had lived in Yuba City. I moved to Turlock to attend CSU Stanislaus, where I obtained my BA on criminal justice with a concentration on forensic science.
Cool.
I was with Modesto PD for about 2 years. I was doing crime analysis there.
Oh, I bet you were busy down there.
Yes, it was. But, I love it busy because it goes fast.
You learn a lot.
Yeah, but I really wanted to come back to the area. My family lives here.
Yeah.
So when I saw the opportunity to work with the Sutter County Sheriff's Office, I decided to apply. Plus, it was the evidence technician position, which does a little bit of everything, as I mentioned, the CSI and the evidence tech combined. So that really drew my attention. I wanted to respond to crime scenes, and that would open that opportunity. Yeah. So I kind of fulfilled that goal.
Are you one of these true crime fanatics? When I say fanatics, fans, like you watch things on on serial killers and you're trying to hope to be a detective yourself kind of thing.
I stopped watching them because I became really frustrated because I'm like, oh, he's collecting that wrong. He's packaging that wrong.
So are you saying you went to school here before you, so your family was here, you were here, and then you went?
Yes.
So where'd you graduate from high school?
Yuba City High School, 17
go
years
honkers,
ago.
Go honkers.
20 years ago.
17.
She looks like she's 24.
Right? Yeah, I was going to say she's lying, but you just don't accuse people of stuff like that.
We've got her perspective. Go ahead.
I'll tell you with Annie E, the little bragging point here. So first of all, I was on her oral panel. And we're like, oh, how are we lucky not to snag this one and not have someone else?
Well,
and then to get the Employee of the Year, it's not just like her work ethic, but she gets voted by her peers. So it's a vote through everybody. And when it comes with Annie E, it's not just her coming in every day and doing her job, but it's being the ability to respond. I mean, sometimes you get calls of 2:00 in the morning of a shooting or something that we need her to come out and process the scene. We're a small agency, so she does everything that she can in her power, and then she works closely with DOJ, and sometimes we have to call DOJ out, and they work close together. But Annie E is just one of those people that when you come in, she's smiling, she's working hard. stuff gets done. She's efficient, and people just brag about that, and that's one of the biggest reasons why she got the Employee of the Year.
I was going to say, you're the boss, and you're the one that sees all the work that she does. How does she work with the other employees? What does she do that kind of like you said rises above?
She just is one of those people that she listens and she gets stuff done, and she's not afraid to tell you you're doing it wrong, but she does it in a good way. And being an old road dog back in the day, I mean, evidence is always frustrating because it takes time, and when you're on patrol, you don't want to go do that.
Yeah.
You want to throw it in a bag and throw it in and have the evidence tech take possession and go back out and find something else, right? And
You're ruining my crime scene.
so sometimes she's got to lay it out, like, hey, you got to do this right. But the staff just loves how she does it, and it's organized, and and it was a backed up mess when Anna E got there of purging, and you just name it, and she just has become this person that is like, we're going to keep what we need to keep, get rid of what we need to get rid of, and let's make room.
Good.
And
You've
she's done a good job.
She's cataloged all the back stuff, because that would be frustrating as an officer. Like, what happened to this, and not being able to say.
Yeah.
But have you had a moment like they show? I know I'm focusing on the TV shows.
She told you she don't watch the TV shows.
No, but have you had a moment like that where you're like, the angle of this casing, pointed out to an officer, and it helped solve the crime or something like that?
I haven't had that moment just yet.
Okay.
I'm still young in my career. But, definitely you want to make sure that anything you collect is done on the proper way, because you just never know when that, big
little
that
thing.
item might be the big key. And, one of the things that we can't forget is maybe right now, I can go to a crime scene and we don't have a suspect, but we have one item. I mean, it might not be relevant now, but it might be relevant later.
That's what I was going to ask. Is you ever had to slap an officer's hand and say, "Don't touch that, don't touch that"?
Generally they're pretty good, especially if I'm on the scene, because they know,
right?
I'm not afraid to call them out. So,
would you be the person of that? Because I know a lot of departments are transitioning to body cams. It seems like this would be under your department or somebody that you work with or something like that.
She's actually so we're going to body room cameras, and we're in the process of checking out different companies and so forth, and she's a part of the team, because you're correct, it will be one of her jobs, depending on what company we go with, to think about redaction and evidence storage and how to process it. So we didn't have just deputies choose a company. We needed Anna E to be a part of that, so she can have her input. It's a team, and she's a big component of that.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, all of the companies that have come to the Sheriff's Department and have done a presentation, my main function has been evaluating the evidence management system that each one of them presents to us.
Are we close to choosing one and implementing it? What do we say, in the next year or so? Or we will start seeing, because there's been plenty of times, those body cams benefit both sides of the equation.
They do. So we're getting close. Hopefully, our goal would be within a year.
Yeah.
There is obviously things that we do work out, but we hope that it's going to be within a year.
Okay.
How long do you have to keep evidence? I mean, if a crime is solved, you don't have to keep that. But I mean, when something's unsolved, how long do you guys have to store that stuff?
So there is not a simple answer to that.
Okay.
It depends on the type of crime. I mean, we have guides where, misdemeanors can be kept for a year, felonies for 3. I mean, if it's the crime against persons such as the sexual assault, if it's the victim is a minor, we have to keep them until the victim is 41, regardless of the outcome of the case.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
We have other, crimes such as homicides that we are actually mandated to keep things indefinite. And
Yeah,
we
because
don't-
I can see where another case would pop up, even though this would be solved. It would clear up a case from, say, another county, because you've got this evidence that can compare the evidence, to modus operandi and everything else.
Yeah, and there's cases where if we don't have a suspect, we have to hold the evidence for certain, for more an extended period of time.
Have we got anything like that right now in our area? So I know the Yuba County 5 from back in the 1960s, those disappeared. But are there any I don't know if you can even say anything like
That's
that.
what I was gonna say.
Yeah, you
It's
probably
an
can't
open
say
case.
anything.
I can't tell you.
So if you have evidence on things John Black has done,
That was
you
gonna
can't
say-
talk about that this morning. You can't could you
gotta keep
fudge
that a
on-
little confidential.
Yeah.
Come on.
There's a confidentiality.
I
clause
I
on
will
my
tell
job
you that
description.
you think about like PRA rules and regulations that the state has, right? And there's a lot where you can probably times that times 5 for evidence rules and regulations that they have to go through. It is crazy. I would say the evidence book of rules and regulations is probably as big as like the penal code.
It's because of the lawyers who have picked it apart, and I'm sure that drives when you have to show up in court and somebody questions your professional abilities, and you're like, I've done this exactly the way I'm supposed to do, and you just got to maintain, I guess, that professional. Do you have to show up in court, things like that?
Yeah, I have to, especially with crime scenes, because obviously one of the things they, is easier for a lot of people. They have defendants. It's, they want to throw evidence items away. So an easier way to do it is how it was collected or processed or kept.
Yeah, like a Bruno Magli shoe or the glove that doesn't fit. Or,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Things like that. We learned a lot, I mean, we kind of make light of situations like that, but we shouldn't because it was a murder trial. But learned a lot from things like that. And the importance of, say, body cams now, or the importance of the correct chain of command and how the officers can taint something. I've got a friend who showed up, it was a lawyer, or I'm sorry, a reporter, showed up at a crime scene about 20, 30 years ago, and the deputy put him in the back of his vehicle because he was contaminating the crime scene with footprints. So, I mean, officers, they take it seriously too. I mean,
You have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, you have to, because and I mean, I know you made that a joke with the whole glove thing, but evidence in evidence process is a key component, and and one flaw could really mess a case up, and so it's tedious. You have to be organized. You have to be very, methodical and know what you're doing and process it properly, because again, one small mistake could cause issues. And
take it slow, because I noticed that
does
takes
a
hours.
phenomenal
Yeah.
job.
It takes hours. Yeah.
So now that you've done it for a while, right? You've had a chance to do it, been through college, done it. What's the most gratifying thing to you about your job? Because you don't get Employee of the Year if you don't like what you're doing. So I'm assuming people can see that in you. They can see that this matters to her, right? But for you personally, what's been the most gratifying part? You say, I like my job because of this. Right?
There's two
And
components.
remember, Scott's sitting right here.
So there's two components of it. I will say, obviously the recognition is great because it's really satisfying to see your peers and your superiors acknowledge your hard work. I would say the most gratifying thing about my job, it's not only saying, okay, we were able to obtain the evidence or to obtain this information that will put a bad guy behind jail, but also eliminate the wrong person. Because the evidence is important to prove that somebody is guilty, but it is also important to exonerate the
I
innocent.
can see where that would be.
That's very cool.
my point.
I would be I can see where that would be more rewarding.
Yes, it is.
Clearing somebody versus getting somebody.
Yeah.
Another thing, just to, you talk about like going to CSI and going to crime scenes and stuff like that. But that is like 20% of
Yes.
her job, right? I mean, 80% of her job is at the desk, behind closed doors, processing, simple things like, even if it's, when people drop off, old medications and stuff like, she has to do that. So, being with the community and doing those things. So it's all that fun stuff. It's kind of like being a cop, right? Oh, it's fun to go chase people, but now you have like 5 hours of reports.
Yeah.
It's a concept on evidence, and Anna E has to, and so sometimes, that can be tedious, and she does just a good job of keeping positive and doing those things as well.
No, a lady just chimed in, just met you a few weeks ago and said, very nice. So, thumbs up.
Thank you.
Last name of Rosalini. I'm not quite sure.
Well, I think that there are certain parts of law enforcement that people don't know about, and they don't realize how important that is. So, I'm very grateful that you made Employee of the Year, but I'm also very grateful you've been able to come on the air and and talk to us about those kinds of things. We don't think about that. What do they do with all that stuff? Where does that stolen bicycle go, right? And it's like, and it made me think, wait, you're one person doing that? And how much storage space do you have? And we had the gal from the museum on, and she said, for museums, she said, we run out of storage space pretty quick.
Oh, I run out of storage.
Well, does that happen to you?
We actually had an old, and I'm not lying, we have an old janitor's closet, right, that had stuff in it, and we had to convert that because we were running out of space.
Well, you've seen the movie Raiders of the Lost Ark, where they put the Ark at the end, that big. Yeah. No, this is probably more like the Green Mile, the isolation room where they stored all the stuff. That's that kind of thing, right?
Yeah. Our strategic plan is eventually to try to find ways to increase our storage and so forth. But again, it's a cost because it's not you can just throw up a shed from Walmart and say we're going to put evidence in there, right? It's got certain parameters and things you have to do.
Security and chain of command and all that other stuff. Tell me, what would you tell somebody that's maybe considering a job like this? And is it a growing thing? And are there other employees under you?
I do have CSO Turkey that usually helps me. She's, I will say, my right hand. She is trained in most of the aspects of evidence. So every time I need the extra help, which is often
CSO, the community service officer.
Community service officer.
So she's going to be.
Oh, I think she's been in here. She's been. I remember her. Yeah.
So she's trained, kind of doing cross training, if you will. Okay.
Correct. She's a very smart person. So she's my right hand. So she helps a lot. And, if there was any advice for anybody trying to be an evidence tech, it's, this job generally requires some sort of experience. And it's really hard to get experience because you can't just put anybody on evidence. Yeah. So, education is an important factor. I would say that opened a lot of doors for me. But definitely volunteer. Don't be afraid. Maybe call your local department, speak to the evidence tech, see what kind of path they have to go through to get that position. Also, if there is a department that you are particularly interested on, look up the job description, try to gain experience.
There's other jobs in the sheriff's department. The CSI part is, that's one aspect, but there's other. What Scott or Undersheriff Smallwood? Oh,
Scott's good.
What kind of other jobs similar like this are that people maybe are not aware of?
Well, and one thing about Sutter County is, we're a large county, but in a small county. So there's a lot of cross training, as you said. We have a lot of tools that we have to handle and jobs to do, and so. We probably need 2 evidence technicians, but we don't. So we have Anahi, who's the full-time technician, and then we cross-train with our community service officers, and they do different things. So Paige assists with evidence, where then our Daisy will do CSO, but then she'll do other things like our social media and help us with the community events and stuff like that. And so just a lot of cross-training. So you think about. Positions within the department, like our records clerks. Well, our records clerks sometimes have to also do, help out with civil, or civil has to help out with records clerks because you're short. Even our dispatchers sometimes have to do records type of things because we just cross train there, and it just kind of goes up from there. So it's one of those things where, and I came from even a smaller department where you just had to realize that your assignment might be evidence technician, but Annie, I might need you to go do something else to help me out,
which has been a special challenge because of this time, the pandemic and everything, and making sure that you're still able to provide that level of service, and that's why you're now Undersheriff, brother.
Yeah. Well,
hey, John, I just want to make it clear because she was talking about what it takes to do her job. All that CSI you watched on TV does not qualify you. I just want to clarify that because you know a lot, right? But I'm telling you, she is not asking you to come in and you're going to have to stay a DJ.
But it has, I bet you, has had a positive effect by people not contaminating crime scenes. Like, oh, I better step back, or they I'm sure they're not
for
there.
At least 30 minutes.
They're not getting trajectories of bullets and things like that. No, they know that to stay away. I guess let you all do your job, and how important, because you see those tents go up, and that's something important because you're shielding, not just shielding the public's view from something gruesome, you're shielding any other trace evidence coming in.
Oh, yeah.
Well, something that Fisher brought up, and I want to make note about also is with Anahi being local. I mean, Sheriff and I both are a huge component about trying to find local people to be part of our family and department. And with Anna E being local, it helps us because she's a local person and she's a mentor and she's a role model to anybody else that might want to do this position and say, hey, I want to do that. You know, her work that she did at Modesto PD and the internship and the work there, that it showed, you know, the efforts. And so, you know, she nailed it on the nose. If this is something you want to do, education, internship, volunteer, be a part of something to get some experience, and so you can get, because these positions are definitely, they're tough to fill. They're tough to find people.
I was an intern at a radio station for 2 years before they finally put me on air. So I know exactly what you're saying about that. You have to get coffee, you know, do everything just so you're around and involved in that. And you've got a great program for that, the volunteers there.
Yep.
At the Sheriff's Department. And anybody, you got the Citizens Academy coming up and more. So I got to ask you one final question here. What did you win? Did you get a plaque? Did you get like a $25 Starbucks card?
My picture is hanging on a wall of the department.
Your picture's on the wall.
We actually are in the process of putting together, you know, whether it's a dinner or a luncheon. So you guys obviously know that, you know, the Exchange Club would always do the Officer of the Year, and that has missed the last few years because of COVID. So the sheriff and I are, and the sheriff mainly is putting something together where we are going to show off our Employee of the Years. I mean, you guys had you know, Deputy Pope and Correctional Officer Olson, and then we have Anna E. And so we have a volunteer that also got Volunteer of the Year, but he chose to. I'll just brag about him, and that's you know, Mr. Smillman, that comes out, rides, does the volunteer program, you know, vacation checks, whatever. Just a huge supporter, and he also, you know, won that. And
what was the name again?
Spillman.
Spillman, okay.
Right, Spillman, yeah.
Okay.
And so we'll end up doing a lunch, or we'll do something to show them off and make sure that they get
maybe an extra day off or something like that. Yeah, she does. She's like, no.
Did
I
you
love
not
that.
hear?
That's
We
dedication.
only have her.
That's the dedication night. She's like, no.
But, you know,
She's not getting that trip to Disneyland. I'm just saying.
You ever do a ride along? Just to ride along with the sheriff. I'm sure that's part of the cross training, you know, you were talking about.
I
think we did.
haven't. No, I didn't. You know, I just came down to business.
Okay.
Yeah,
business.
we pretty
I
much
love that.
hired her and threw her in the evidence and said, go.
And it's been a positive situation ever since. How long you been with the board now? Or with the
2 years.
2 years? Okay. Any final thing you'd like to say?
Thank you for having me here.
And keep good work up.
Yeah, I'll just end it with Anna E. is phenomenal, and if anybody is interested in doing this type of position, she's a person to look for. Like I said, a role model. We're extremely proud to have her a part of our agency and our family.
Wonderful. Fish?
I just think it's great. Well, I just think it's great because I didn't think about it till Scott said it, and that's they haven't. The Exchange Club has not been able to do because I've been there to do the invocation for it on more than one occasion, and that is an important thing in terms of recognition of the people that are really working hard. I mean, I know it's their job, but they go above and beyond. And I didn't even think about it till you said that has been literally now, 2 years, that hasn't been available. And that's really a key place that people in law enforcement are honored in our community. So hoping COVID ends and that comes back.
COVID ain't going to end. We're just going to live with it.
Either way, right?
Okay, well, thank you very much, both of you, Undersheriff Scott Smallwood and also Anahi Duran, Evidence Technician, Employee of the Year for Sutter County Sheriff's Department. That's the entire department. That's just not your department, okay? Congratulations.
Thank you.
This community interview is made possible by Shaw and Associates.
I'm Dave Shaw, President and CEO of Shaw & Associates. For over 65 years, Shaw & Associates has been your trusted local expert for wealth management, tax, accounting, and payroll. Thank you for voting us Yuba Sutter's best in multiple categories, including financial advisor and wealth management firm for the past 5 years. You can find more information at shawassociatesinc.com or 530-674-1150. Shaw & Associates is proud to support community